Hey Postables, you're listening to Deliver Me a Podcast, brought to you by Kaycee, Jess, and Cami. A special thanks to James Jandrisch for letting us use the music on our show. Now, grab some Yoo-Hoo or a kombucha, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Welcome back to Deliver Me a Podcast. Today we are recapping the next installment of Signed, Sealed, Delivered from the Heart. And with me today, I have Kaycee.
Hello, everybody.
And of course, Cami.
Hello. Oh, there we go. From the heart. Heart
Aww.
beating for all of you Postables.
Yes. And what an appropriate symbol, because as the title suggests, this is all about the heart and all about love. So, this movie jumps around a ton. So I just divided it into 3 segments. So first, we're going to recap the Norman Rita storyline, and the historical Valentine will go with that. Okay. Then we'll do the letter story. And then lastly, of course, we'll do the big Shade and Oliver story.
Okay, Jess,
yes. Since
this is from the heart, may I please just first put in the when calls the heart connections?
Well, certainly.
Thank you. We've got young Maddie, played by Mackenzie Cardwell, and she played Lucy Benson in season 3, who Bill saves from the flood, and her father was one of Bill's best friends. And then Governor Ryan is played by Aaron Craven, and he played a man named Elliot Garvey who tried to kidnap Rosemary in season 2, and Jack saved the day.
All right. So there is your When Calls the Heart connection for this episode. And all right, so let's dive right in. So the movie starts out a little differently than the others because we have a very historical letter writing scene going on. And all we know, it has to do with St. Valentine's Day, 1835. And that's all we get into the glimpse of this historical Valentine that will come back into play later.
I knew it was Abe Lincoln.
Did you? How did you know, Kaycee?
I picked it because 1835, and when I looked, the guy looked like Abe Lincoln. I was like, this looks a lot like Abe Lincoln.
Whoa.
I know. I was a history minor. I was a history minor. So
makes a little more sense.
Okay. History minor.
History minor.
I don't know
nerd in me coming
history.
Out. I did not pick up on the Anne Rutledge storyline, but I definitely had that inkling about Abe Lincoln, and I did know he was a postmaster general too.
Okay, so that helps.
Okay.
Yes.
That also helped. And when that came to fruition, I was like, I was right. I was totally not off. This is so amazing because I'm usually wrong.
Yeah.
I want to know just how accurate this story is. I wanted to look up Anne Rutledge, but I didn't get a chance. And I wonder how true this story is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how much is fiction based and how much is reality based?
I want to say that the letter part is fiction based.
Mm-hmm. But the concept behind them is
true, I think. So
I would think that the letter would be fiction because if there's so little known about her, then, something like that would be on display in the Smithsonian,
Absolutely.
Or be in the Postal Museum in DC.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I didn't get to go to when I was at DC because it closed so early. I'm still mad about that. But anyway.
Wow.
That's a different story. But let's get back to this story. So we have this little brief thing about the historic Valentine, and then we get right into Valentine's Day at the for the Postables. And I think it's the day before Valentine's Day is when it starts. And Norman has not made his reservations for Valentine's Day dinner. Norman.
The guy is new at this. This is the
that's true.
First relationship probably ever that this man has had. But in his mid-30s, that poor guy,
Yeah, poor guy. But it doesn't even matter because it turns out that Rita has some exciting news that she was the 4th runner-up for Miss Special Delivery. But a million other things happened to the actual winner and the 3 other runner-ups, that Rita is now Miss Special Delivery and will have to leave by plane that night. So no Valentine's Day for Rita and Norman.
And no fancy taco trucks.
No
fancy taco trucks.
I love that. Is there such a thing as a fancy taco truck? No. It was a beautiful line.
Yes.
So funny. And I don't know if you were going to bring this up, but fun fact, Crystal Lowe was pregnant in this movie.
Oh,
She was
I always
8
forget
months
that.
pregnant.
8 months?
She was 8 months. That's what she said on Twitter.
No.
I
That
know.
is a downright lie.
She said that they were so afraid that she was just going to give birth right there behind me.
Oh my gosh.
I know. Didn't she look amazing?
You were behind Jess. I mean, I guess it makes sense. She's got the signs.
She had that gigantic teddy bear.
That she's
That's
holding
true.
the teddy bear, and then she's got the box that she asks Norman to take back to certified return. So yeah, I mean, I guess, and then she's at the table in the press conference.
Yeah.
I guess it makes sense, but
and she wore a lot of patterns over patterns,
Yeah.
and all when they shot
she was sitting at the desk when she got the phone call when she got the phone call about Miss Special Delivery. So yeah, I guess, but that woman's a stick. I mean, I would kill to look that good when I was 8 months pregnant. Oh my gosh. Oh my word.
Yes. So well done, Martha and the whole team, because they hid that well, and Hallmark does not always hide it well. And I never guessed until I learned it later. I never guessed just from watching it.
So.
Man, good job, Crystal. Good job, costume department. Good job, props department.
But anyway, so Rita is now Miss Special Delivery and is on her way to postal fame. But before she leaves, she and Norman go to visit Serge at the Mailbox Grill. He has something he wants to give to them, and it turns out to be a cigar box full of all these like old valentines that he came across. I don't know if it was like at the pawn shop or whatever, how he got them.
Yeah, they were at the pawn shop, but they're all vintage and antiques and beautifully preserved. It's crazy.
But because of Rita's newfound fame, she and as she and Norman are sitting there, someone comes up and snaps a little photo of them right as they're kissing. Of course, why not?
That's so awkward and tacky. Like, why would you do that to some strangers? Ew. Like,
well, no, I don't think that they're strangers because she had on a postal uniform. But
I didn't notice that.
The post office is a big place. You know, who's to say that they even know each other at work?
Right.
So, but yeah, she had on a postal uniform, but yeah, who knows?
It still don't matter. Still strangers.
It's still weird.
It's weird. So Serge gives them the Valentines, and he is holding up a bunch of signs to communicate, because apparently he's taken a vow of silence and a vow of poverty because he's joining a monastic order, but then he subsequently breaks his vow of silence like a minute later. So who knows how serious Serge is about this.
Okay, and the other thing is, he said, if you're ever in Minnesota, look me up. Why did he not have a card for that? You know, I mean, he knew that he was going to say goodbye. He had a card for uh-oh, but he didn't have a card for look me up.
Anybody's guess. It's Serge. She just didn't think it through.
It is Serge.
Yes. So yes, they have all these nice Valentines, these vintage Valentines. And then I believe Serge leaves, and Rita and Norman go to kiss again. But this time, Rita picks up one of the vintage Valentines to shield her face from the paparazzi, the postal paparazzi. Didn't know that was a thing. And so she holds up the vintage Valentine, and on it, we see that it's addressed to the postmaster in New Salem, Illinois, 1835. So this is the Valentines from the beginning of the story. And we later learn that the return address has AR on it for Anne Rutledge. And so, putting all the pieces together, Kaycee, historian, who is this letter to and for?
It's for our 16th president, Abraham Lincoln.
Come on down.
Yes, it is for Abe Lincoln from Anne Rutledge. And did it say in there that they were engaged? Did they say that in the episode?
There is speculation that they were engaged.
Yes.
Okay, so there was speculation they're engaged. But unfortunately, we learned, I don't know if we learned it here or later, that she died of typhoid. So obviously, Abe lost his long lost love, I guess, which is really sad.
Yeah. It's very sad.
And that's all we get on that until basically the end. Because after Rita leaves for her, journey to, is she going to DC? Is that where she goes?
I think so.
DC for the Miss Special Delivery, whatever. And Shane gets an alert on her phone about Rita, and Rita's doing this like press conference because apparently there are press conferences for the Miss Special Delivery pageant. It's a really big deal, guys.
Who knew?
Not me. And in the press conference, she denies that the person she was kissing in the paparazzi photo, aka Norman, she denies that he's her boyfriend. And Norman is so crushed.
Okay. I want to talk about this for a second, if we may. What is your opinion, you guys? What is your opinion on Rita doing that? Was she right or was she wrong? I want to have this discussion.
Oh gosh.
I'm sorry, Jess. I didn't mean to.
No, it's fine. I guess I don't really have an opinion because I get it one way. Like, I mean, well, okay. It's the Miss Special Delivery. It's not like she's president of the United States. So
she's not even a Hollywood actor.
Right. It's like, does it really matter that the postal world knows about Norman if they know them would know anyway? Yeah, but I also kind of get wanting to maintain your privacy and not have everybody know about you. So yeah, I'm in the middle. I don't really have an opinion.
I agree with Jess. However, I would definitely side more with Norman. Because like she's not a big name person and she's not she's not like, it's not like she's, Jennifer Aniston and Brad Pitt or anything crazy like that. I think that she just reacted out of fear for sure. Like, I think she just freaked out because she wasn't expecting it and it just flew out of her mouth and like, was she right? I don't know. I would definitely lean more. I would side more with Norman. Like, I would be crushed if it were me as the respondent. I would be crushed. I would be like, no, sir. Like,
or just say no comment. Like, not even like just deflect the question, I guess.
Yeah. But
and his face when the reporter asks, do you have any comment on that tweet of you kissing your boyfriend? And all three of the postables right there, like, oh, I mean, even Norman is like, well, yeah, they got a picture and like, oh, I don't have a boyfriend, and then just I agree with you guys that she wants to maintain privacy and she probably reacted and she just felt herself painted into a corner and wanted out. But on the other hand, to make a statement like that really does imply that she doesn't think that they're forever. And I mean, they knew each other for 4 years before they even declared any kind of feelings for each other and started dating. So, and we know by this point that they're forever. Now, going through it, they don't know. But still, for her to doubt them like that, especially somebody as loyal as Norman, and if she feels as strongly about him as she says she does, I mean, if she felt strongly enough to deflect Ramon's advances, Mr. Charmer himself, then I don't think that was necessary for poor Norman to go through.
Yeah. And we see him like we've never seen him before when they're at the Brown
gosh.
Palace Hotel. He's ripping the heart off the bear.
He's going mad on that bear.
That's public property. I mean, when you think about it, he could get thrown out of the hotel. He could get fined.
Yeah.
You know, and he's just destroying the decor. And just the look on his face. We have never seen a look of rage.
This is a new Norman.
This is a definitely new Norman. Did you guys find it so odd that Shane is reading the letter and Oliver is holding the bear? Oliver's holding the bear, and he's not cuddling it by any means, but he positions it on his lap and he's holding the bear. It's like, oh,
And protect that bear.
Protect the bear.
I thought that was hysterical.
About to turn into the wrong postal detective.
There you go, Lifetime. There's your next pitch. Series. But yeah, so him and Rita talk on the phone, and he's very upset. And Rita is trying to like say like, well, didn't want it to be like in the public, and we're not somebody's hashtag. Yeah, sure, no, Rita, you are someone's hashtag, you're ours. But anyway.
No, Rita.
Hi. We love you being our hashtag.
I know.
Did you guys notice two things I noticed about this scene? Number one, did you notice the row of pictures that Norman was looking at? There was a row of about 7 pictures of Rita and maybe one of the two of them together, and he turns away from it to face the camera to talk, but he's got this little shrine to her.
I know.
It just makes it all the sadder. And then she's in this hotel room, and did you notice how surrounded by Valentine gifts she is? And it's like, okay, I know those aren't all from Norman. I know that there were maybe a couple that were from Norman, but who are all of these Valentine gifts from? I mean, is this a postal USPS courtesy because she's Miss Special Delivery, or are they fan gifts? Are they secret admirer gifts? It just, it makes you wonder, where did all these presents come from? And then you got poor, sweet little lonely Norman with his bank of pictures of Rita, who is at the present giving him the shoulder. It's so sad.
So I totally thought that all of those things were from Norman.
You did.
But it totally makes sense that they would not all be from Norman, because when I was watching, I was like, oh, wow. I mean, this makes sense. He spends all this money on her. I guess it maybe doesn't make sense because he didn't book a reservation. But yeah, I would guess probably Fan and Work and Shane and a few. Maybe that big bear was from Norman, repurposed.
Maybe that's why he was so upset at the other bear, because he'd given her one.
Oh, there you go. Connection.
But he's so upset, and he consoles. I think he consoles himself by he finally reads the historic Valentine.
Yeah, that's when he opens it for the first time.
And is that the night he spends the night at the ELO? Is it that same night? Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
And he's like cuddling the picture of Rita.
I know.
As he sleeps when Shane walks in the next morning. Poor Norman.
Poor thing.
Oh,
how can anybody hurt poor Norman?
No.
Yes. But Oliver reminds him that he can forsake his morning ablutions, so he needs to go wash his face.
I had to look that word up. I have never heard that word in my life until
Yeah, you tell us what it means, because that was going to be a trivia question. So what does ablution mean?
It is a ceremony of washing oneself, and it's usually used as humor. It's usually referred to humorously.
Mm-hmm.
So and Oliver meant nothing humorous about it. A gentleman must never forsake his morning ablutions. You know? It's like, what the heck is that word? I need to look that word up.
I love that word. I love that word now. I use it all the time.
Really?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Because it's such a fun word. Ablutions. Like, who says that?
Nobody.
Except for
Oliver.
Oliver.
Yes.
Nobody outside of 1960. I don't know. I'd go even further, but
1940.
I don't want to insult Oliver. Like,
He's an old soul.
Yeah, he's an old soul.
I don't want to call him a human antique. Not yet.
Yeah. So Norman gets cleaned up, and then I don't remember if it's that same day, but at the end of the movie, he goes back to the DLO, and I think it's like nighttime.
Mm-hmm.
And Rita is there waiting for him, holding up this little signs, just like Serge did. With
it's the night after Valentine.
The night after Valentine,
which is that same day, which is the same day that he wakes up in the DLO.
Mm-hmm.
It's that night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's holding up the signs to say that she is sorry, and I'm trying to remember what. Do you guys remember what the other one said?
So it there was one that said, "I'm sorry."
Mm-hmm.
There was one that said, "I couldn't wait until Monday." And there was one that said, "I took the first flight back."
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
I think those are all three of them. I think
so. And I don't think it was a sign, but she told him that she would always carry him with her.
That was not a sign. She
said. And then they kind of make up. And he tells her, "I want you on my raft," which is a reference to an analogy that Oliver started earlier in the movie, which was very sweet.
She doesn't have a clue what he's talking about, but it's really sweet for us.
Very sweet. And to round out the other story, the movie actually ends with Anne Rutledge kind of closing her letter to Abe,
mm-hmm.
and that brings that full circle too. Yes.
There's one line in there that I never really paid attention to, except this time through. That happens a lot. Have you guys noticed that with us?
Yeah.
We notice things when we're watching them for recapping. We notice a lot more than when we're just watching. Tears may come at night, but there is always joy in the morning. I almost started crying right there. Yeah, because how true is that? I mean, Kaycee, with Anne of Green Gables, tomorrow is
always fresh with no mistakes in it.
But I mean, how many times have we as women, we as moms, we as daughters, sisters, what have you, how many times have we cried at night and then in the morning get up and go on with our day and make something happen, and if we can, make what we were crying about right. It's actually a very profound point in a tiny little sentence. But there's Martha for you.
Yeah. I think that's actually in Psalms or Ecclesiastes or something like that. Yeah, I was saying
it sounds like a verse, a Bible verse, or like a song.
Psalm 30, verse 5. Weeping may tarry for the night, but joy comes in the morning.
There you go.
Wow. But I mean, for her to take that scripture and turn it into our language.
Yeah.
For it to be not more recognizable, but maybe more attainable. It's just,
it's a beautiful concept.
It's beautiful. It really is beautiful.
All right. So that wraps up No Rita, our favorite hashtag. And now we move on to the letter story. This dead letter comes from the terminal annex, and it got there because of a mailbox explosion. And we see Oliver.
One that haunts Mr. Oliver.
Oliver's very flustered, but we don't know why yet.
Okay, so can I just pause right here? You
Yes.
guys are gonna be like, you are so weird.
Oh dear.
So when I
Brace
saw
yourself,
this,
Jess.
I know. So when I watched this, remember I watched this out of order. So this was one of the first ones that I saw after watching the series, the episodic series.
Okay.
And so I was not fully aware of the whole Oliver, like all the characters, like their storylines. So I totally thought that Ryan was Oliver. And that he
Oh my word.
That's a plot twist.
I know, because
Excuse me, officer, where do I turn myself in?
Yes, I really thought that was Oliver. And I love the Hallmark movie mysteries, so like I always go there first, especially like early on. I was not aware. I mean, I'm a new fan. I wasn't real sure about like how deep
I know.
how intense they go, especially after Dark of Night and some of the other topics they touched on in the episodes. So I thought that we had some kind of secret story about Oliver getting arrested as a teenager.
Now there's a fan fiction story.
That is a fan fiction story to write. Absolutely.
Especially when like it pans from that and then like we see him and like at his desk and then he gets flustered with the letter and stuff. And I'm like, oh my goodness, we are about to get something juicy. And then figured out
quite as juicy as Kaycee thought.
this is signed, sealed, delivered. Not Aurora Teagarden. So yeah. Anyways, I thought that was quite hysterical for y'all.
Yes.
That is very hysterical.
Oh goodness. Yes. So as Kaycee mentioned, we meet a boy who turns himself into the police, and this incident happened 15 years earlier. And we learn that these young, I think high schoolers, Maddie and Ryan, met doing debate, and they are very, very opposite.
Mm-hmm. And very, very competitive.
Yes, and very competitive. Maddie's the facts girl, and Ryan's kind of like the showman. Like he's got to put a little bravado into it all.
Storytelling. What does she call it? Folksy storytelling?
Yes. Folksy storytelling, yep.
And what starts off as kind of like competitiveness turns into a friendship, and she kind of helps him learn how to use facts and statistics, and he teaches her how to smile during her debates.
Sorry, really quick. I just have to tell you how powerful a little thing like that, just slipping in a note card in her notes.
Yeah.
That is the sweetest thing ever. I was in a play. I did it for a church project, and I produced, and my mom and I co-directed, and I was in it. It was a very, very big undertaking. And we would have little note cards float down on the from the ceiling. They were messages to us, and I would pick them up, and I would write little notes to myself to remind me to smile or to remind me to do stuff like that. And I mean, that is incredibly powerful. Mm-hmm. And then later on in college, I was in Comedy of Errors, and I played the Duchess, and the guy that played my servant, we kind of had a backstory that the Duchess and the servant were in love, but obviously station-wise couldn't do anything about it. And so at one point he brings me a platter that has a note on it, and I unroll it. And every single night he wrote something different. He was trying to make me crack, and he was trying to make me break character. One time, because he hands me a goblet that's supposed to be wine, and I take a drink, and then I read the note. Mm-hmm. And one night I unroll it, and he said, "I poisoned the wine." Almost lost it right then and there, but I bit my tongue and I made it through. But I'm telling you, just little things like putting a note in, it's so effective. Mm-hmm. And it just is so thoughtful to show that you're thinking of somebody.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
absolutely.
It is. It's so adorable. And then you see him just kind of cross his arms and the door. It's just, he's so cute. He's so cute.
They are adorable.
They are adorable.
Except we learn that Ryan has a bit of a secret from Oliver reading the letter. He says, I never meant to hurt you, and I never meant to kill anyone. So we have this incident we don't know about yet, but we're already kind of preparing for tragedy. So,
and I love the fact that Oliver went back to the DLO, and it was like he couldn't finish the letter without Shane.
Right.
He went back and he said, please read
this.
Because
she's the one who reads it out loud for us. Yeah.
Can we talk about that really fast? I love that scene really fast. Like when she's going on about like all the facts about high school debate club, and Oliver's standing there dumbfounded for once without any he can't say anything, and she's like, oh, I debated in high school, and she's like, fascinating. Yeah, astonishing.
Astonishing.
I love how he says it. Yes.
Classic. One of those classic moments when she can render Oliver O'Toole speechless.
And it was almost the fact of like everything from the beginning of their relationship, starting at the coffee cart, everything just made sense. Like, of course, she has convinced me to do all these other things against my own will and against what I know to be right and true, because she's a debater, and obviously a very good
she won.
Yes.
And she's still winning.
And she's still winning. So, yeah, Shane knows a lot about debating. And as they continue reading the letter, we learn about that Maddie and Ryan had a debate on the drinking age, which is a bit of foreshadowing for what is to come. And that's when he joins her for rollerblading. And they have this nice little skate. And that's when they become friends. And
use a beautiful musical montage.
Musical montage.
That was the perfect way to show their relationship blossoming. And that old song, Brand New Key,
That's pretty old.
I love that song. I love that song. And I remember the first time watching it, I'm like, oh, that is the perfect song for right here.
Yeah.
So their friendship blossoms into a romantic relationship, sort of. They almost get there. They kind of get there, and then it quickly derails. But before we get there, it's this point Oliver kind of spills the beans about why he's so unnerved by this letter. And it's because he, being Oliver O'Toole, thinks he is responsible he feels guilty because being a human being, he did not pick up the mail at exactly the right time because he went to go wait for a certain young police officer who he had a crush on.
Who I had a bit of a crush on. Like, way to slide that in there, Oliver.
Don't end a sentence in a preposition.
Yeah.
I had to throw that in.
With whom I had a crush.
Don't you mean on whom I had a crush?
Did I say that? Whatever.
You said with it. But anyway.
Oh.
This is not English class.
I'm just teasing.
Man, so while he was waiting for his crush to arrive.
For Oliver to have a crush?
I know. It's so weird.
For him to even use the word. I had a crush.
I know. I was like,
really? You use that word? You don't use inclination or admiration or something? It's classic.
This leads into so many more questions we can go on and into later. But
questions about young adolescent Oliver. But anyway, while he's waiting for his crush, this clown car just rolls on by, and like,
of all things, I mean, really, a clown car.
And a helium tank in the back gets knocked over, hits some dry ice, and boom, explosion. Bye mail.
Mm-hmm.
And Oliver feels very responsible for this incident, but it's a nice story point because his quest to get those letters delivered actually led to him to working at the DLO. So it all comes full circle.
Yes.
Anyway, so we learn the backstory, and then we return and kind of get the last bit of Maddie and Ryan's story, which is that Maddie's friend makes her think that Ryan is just using her to basically get ahead. And so she gets upset. He gets upset. He drinks. He drives. He hits a trash can, or so he thinks. And the next day wakes up hungover and prepared to debate. Well, not really prepared to debate, but he has to debate. It's like the championship, right?
It's the championship,
It's the final. Well, he doesn't quite make it to the final, but I think it was the one step down to the final.
Oh,
yeah, because I think it was whoever won between the two teams would go to the final.
But either way,
because Ryan says in the letter, I won't be able to watch you in the final.
That's right.
So that leads me to believe that it's one step down.
Some ice.
Yeah. But either way, it was an important one to be at. And right before, Maddie basically said she believed him and that she loved him and like, let's meet by our tree afterward, which makes this all the more tragic. And then the debate, ironically, ends up being about homelessness. And as Maddie is debating, Ryan has these flashbacks and realizes that he hit a homeless person during his drinking and driving episode. And he just can't even go through with his debate. He's so upset about it, obviously. And he plans to turn himself in, which he details in the letter, but Maddie never gets the letter and basically thinks she gets stood up at the tree. So tragic. Like, it's a sad story.
It is.
It really is a very tragic story.
Yeah. And you have to, I guess I'm trying to think back to way back in 2002-ish, because usually you'd want it would be all over the paper, but I guess since he was a minor, his name wouldn't have been tied to it. But then they were from 2 different states. So there was everybody, well, not everybody had internet back then, and it would be dial up. So, I mean, there would really be no way for her to truly find out what happened to him. Even if I guess she wouldn't have been close enough with his buddy to be like, what's up with Ryan? Where did he go?
Not.
Especially if they were, because she was from Wyoming and they were in Colorado. Yes. So it was like a tri-state thing. And, it's just so sad to just live your 15 years of not knowing what happened and not realizing that it was actually a true tragedy. And he was kind of a hero in a sense for turning himself
did the right thing. Yeah.
And I feel like she was really a catalyst for him doing the right thing too, because before he was kind of a cocky kid, not gonna lie.
Completely.
I remember going to school with some of those kids like that where they were just suave and charming, but they were also just like, wow. But
smoke and mirrors is what he says.
Smoke and mirrors. And I feel like had he not have befriended Maddie and had she not have like befriended him, he would have just been like, oh, I don't want to ruin my reputation, So.
Yeah. And the story gets even more tragic because who remembers what the PS on the letter says?
Take good care
of
your heart.
So Maddie had the congenital heart defect, and so when they find her, she's actually in the hospital. And through their postable digging, they learn she's a reporter, and Ryan is actually a governor. And so they're, mostly Shane is
the governor of Colorado.
Yes. And Shane is very conflicted about like giving this letter to a reporter when it's about a public official. And Oliver, of course, is by the book, and he's like, no, we're going to deliver this letter. We're going to do what we do, But yeah, so he's able to see her and they get their closure.
And, back to Shane debating whether or not whether they should deliver that letter. I mean, if she's a reporter, she already knows that her ex almost boyfriend friend guy Ryan is the governor. So if she hadn't already outed him yet, and if she hadn't have dug into his past, because she could have, because she is a reporter, she wasn't gonna do it getting that letter. I think in fact, if she were in a good state of health, I think it would have been that closure she needed. And I really don't think she would have reported and like talked bad about him. I think
Probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not. I mean, at least that's what we would like to think.
Yeah. I just think she
because
could have just
a broken
done it.
heart can do some terrible things.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, if she hadn't have done it yet already that we know of, like, why would she do it now? You know?
That's a good point. That's a good point. Well, I mean, and to be fair, she didn't really know what happened. And yeah, she could have done some serious digging like Shane did. But, you know, it just all depends on what she was able to dig up.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, it's another bittersweet ending.
It is.
Because you have Anne Rutledge and Abe, who never got together because of her illness, and then you have Ryan and Maddie. And I mean, when you look at it too, how much time was he spending there at her hospital bedside? I mean, he just stayed there until she woke up, and then he read her the letter and told her the whole story, and then he still stayed there later. I mean, who knows how long he just stayed there. And a governor is busy. He has things that need to be done, and so for him to just plant himself there is just, it's beautiful. It really is.
And I kind of got that inkling too that he came at night and he stayed through to the morning, tying back to the morning. With the Anne
good connection, Kaycee.
Thank you.
There's always joy in the morning. And what Norman says to him, that Anne Rutledge would have wanted Abe Lincoln to do something with his life. And to move on.
Yeah.
And so Ryan needs to move on.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Mop.
Gotcha.
Clean up on aisle Clements.
Oh my.
Oh man.
Yes, it's a tragic story, but they have closure, so that's good.
That is good.
It is good.
All right, so we're ready to round out with Shane and Oliver.
Okay, let's do Shane and Oliver.
Let's end a little happier note, okay? So we start with Oliver. Bless his heart.
A grown man doesn't know how to cut a heart.
It's like, Oliver, you gotta fold it so it's even on both sides. But it's endearing. It's totally endearing that it's got this lopsided heart.
Okay, I have to ask you guys, since we're the happy side, have you ever sent a Valentine to someone like that? Or in that kind of way?
Not as an adult, I don't think.
Or as a teenager. Adult or teenager.
Okay, so yes, I've done promposals, like that kind of thing, but I did them a little nicer because I know how to cut a heart. But yeah, I've made Valentines. I've done promposals. Where I went to college, it was a very big deal to ask somebody to a formal event in a big way. And so whenever it was a Sadie Hawkins Girl Ask Guy dance, I would always do something a little bigger, I think. And I mean, I got sent on a scavenger hunt once to get asked to a, and for Valentine's Day, I got sent on a scavenger hunt. My friend and I got sent on a scavenger hunt by our boyfriends. It was very sweet. It was very cute and very sweet. And then my boyfriend at the time in high school, we asked each other to one another's proms, and we both sent booklets and just kind of told a story of asking each other to prom. So yeah, I've done big stuff like that before. The short answer is yes. Okay.
So I have a funny story.
No.
Yeah. So for my husband and I, we started dating and like we were just each other's Valentines. Like we did special things for each other, but nothing that really stands out because we were already a thing. However, back in my younger years as a childish junior high student, I went to a school that housed elementary, middle school, and high school. And so for Valentine's Day, they always did a, I don't want to say it was like a fundraiser, but it was one of those things where you could purchase like a flower and then the people would deliver it to the classroom to that person with a little note and candy. So when I was in the 8th grade, my friends dared me to send something to my crush who was a senior in high school.
8th grade to a senior? Oh my word.
And so I wasn't going to do it, but they were all tempting me to do it. They were like pressuring me to do it. So, and we were also
made me love you. I didn't want to do it.
I didn't want to do it. We were also, and let me also say that the only reason why I continued violin was because he was in the orchestra, and because my 12th grade orchestra, like, of course I'm going to be in the orchestra. I don't care if I'm like 3rd chair in the 3rd violin section all the way in the back, but homegirl's going to do this because he's right there. Anyways, so it's literally like 60 seconds till the bell's about to ring for us to go back to class. And I finally waved down a friend who was selling like candy or whatever, bought the box of candy, and everyone's surrounding me and my teacher's yelling at us to hurry up and let's go. She also knew that I had a crush on this guy too. So she was also a little more patient, but yep.
Wait,
so
teacher or friend?
Teacher.
Oh,
a teacher was also, she was yelling at us to hurry up, but she also knew that I had a crush on this guy because my little friends and I, we told her everything. She knew everything about everybody and who they liked and all that. She was so sweet. Anyways, so yeah, I sent it off and it got delivered, and then I wanted to die. And so Valentine's Day comes. And mind you, I'm in 8th grade, y'all. 8th grade. We pass each other in the hallway, and he holds up the box of candy, and he thanks me for it. And I like melted, and he smiled, and I was just I melted in a puddle. It was great. But yeah, that's the story of my awkward Valentine from my awkward junior high days. At least I know how to cut a heart.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, poor Oliver.
Bless his heart.
And then he makes the mistake of entrusting his letter, his Valentine to Shane, to Hazel.
I have here in my notes, dang it, Hazel!
Yeah, bless her heart.
And for all times for Hazel to not be nosy and not to be in anybody's business, it was then like she should have been like, hey, Shane, I got something here for you. I'm going to put it in your work box.
Of all times for Hazel to not be nosy. Come on, Hazel.
But instead she cuts corners and she gives it to Rita, who puts it in the box, who gives the box to Shane, but doesn't tell her it's in the box. And
okay, I know that Rita was in a hurry, but it just happened. Who forgets to say?
She had to get on the plane to go to DC and be Miss Special Delivery. She was distracted, Cammie.
She was on her way.
Well, she didn't realize there was a Valentine from Oliver in there.
No,
but still, for photographic memory.
Yeah, Hazel puts it in the box and then she walks to Shane's house. I mean, come on.
So the Valentine ends up in the box, and Shane doesn't look in the box because she doesn't like the box, because the box signifies the fact that she is single, because it's all the party decorations for the singles party. And Shane gets so salty and cynical in this movie about Valentines and all that.
350,000, and not one of them was for me.
Let's see here. She and Oliver were sitting on the steps in their quasi fake date in July. It's February. A poor girl was probably waiting for something from him. And
I work at the post office delivering every other Valentine to women from their boyfriends. I mean, I'm surprised that she wasn't turning into Norman and ripping up the Valentines.
I know. And it's just, they're just so like they're on the same page, but they don't realize they're on the same page because they won't talk. And Oliver is like dropping all these hints, and she's not getting it. And it's
home.
It's very frustrating.
Your mail.
And he starts talking about all the Greek things of love, and hence the ladies' room. You know, it's it's a little frustrating. I'm like, come on, just say what you mean to me when you say it, Oliver. Come on, get it out there.
He will learn that. He will learn that in a few movies.
I know he hasn't learned that yet.
He has not learned that.
You said that he will learn that in a few movies. I love it. I love it. Because that's how we tell time.
Yes.
He'll learn it in a few movies. Oh my gosh.
But yes, so Shane gets the Valentine, and Oliver is all expectant the next morning, like thinking she got the Valentine, and Shane's basically acting like nothing happened because nothing did for her.
Sorry, really quick. Did you guys notice that nobody was wearing red? It was Valentine's Day, and none of the none of the three of them were wearing red because they were all in mourning.
Yeah. They all had their personal struggles with Valentine's.
They all had their personal Hazel had red shoes on. She had the uniform on, so she couldn't wear red, but she had red shoes on. But the three Postables, none of them were wearing red. And I just went, oh dear, they're not very festively inclined today.
Oh, I know. Poor things.
Oh dear.
But let's talk about Norman and Oliver's conversation behind the box.
Did she say anything?
She said it's demeaning and insulting.
Insulting?
I was like, Norman, no!
That box is hysterical. I love their use of the box and just leaning on it, the flap up and the leaning behind. Like, you know that, right?
Yes, it's
it's
something
so
else.
Funny. So funny.
And then, of course, Shane throws the box in the trash because the party everyone had dates, so there's not even a party anymore, which just like fuels Shane's like irritation with the whole day.
And that was Norman's saying that everybody had dates.
Norman told her because he was told from Eleanor and Passports, who we do come across again later.
Had dates. So.
I thought he made that up for her.
No, Eleanor and Passport said the party was canceled because everybody had dates.
Oh, see, I totally thought that he was just making that up so that Oliver and Shane, like, they would get the guts to talk to each other.
Oh,
no. Everybody had dates, Shane, so...
I think Norman's that crafty.
He's not that plotting.
At least not at this point in the relationship.
Oh.
I was watching the movie with subtitles so that I could catch anything that I was missing. And right there it says giggles mirthlessly. Or mirthlessly. Yeah, that about covers it. There is no mirth in that laugh at all.
Nope, not at all.
So yes, so now here we are. Oliver and Shane both want to be together on Valentine's Day, but no one is saying anything, so they do not end up together on Valentine's Day. But Oliver is like clearly still like expecting that she'll show up because, as you know, Shane decides to run on by his house. Okay, Mandy, like creep on him.
She wasn't being that creepy.
So if you go by a guy's house at night and stare into his window, that's a little Mandy-like.
She was on a jog.
A purposeful jog out of her way to discover where.
And he's lighting candles and measuring wine and has music. Like, he's totally expecting her to show up still. Like, what's that about?
I don't know. I don't know if he was expecting her to show up. I think he was resigned because he started reading a book.
Yeah.
And so I think
why would he set everything up then? That's
I don't
weird.
know.
I thought it was just for him.
Oliver. It's Oliver. So I think that he was just kind of creating a little ambiance for himself to have a quiet, peaceful evening full of sadness. and loneliness and sorrow.
Yeah. I wonder which Shakespeare story he read.
Romeo and Juliet.
King Lear.
The course of true love never did
they're
run
mostly
smooth.
tragedies, right? So.
Midsummer Night's Dream, but he was at the sad part of Midsummer Night's Dream where no one was ending up together.
Anyway, so the next morning, they're both confused and slightly miffed, and they like misrepresent their evenings. Like they act like they both like had things going on.
Can we point out that Oliver totally uses Norman as an escape because he says, I need to attend to Norman. He seems a bit blue. And she's wearing blue. I can almost imagine her saying, I'm feeling blue, mister. It's totally a representation of how she's feeling at the moment.
Yeah. And they just talk in code the rest of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And they are so salty with each other and accusing and all of these things. It's like, wow. Listen, sir, Mr. O'Toole, if you wanted a date with Shane, you should have just given her the Valentine's yourself.
And Norman, okay, here's where we know that Norman is the slightest bit savvier than Oliver, even if it's from this movie, because Norman said he hadn't made a reservation yet. And by the middle of the movie, Norman is telling Oliver, wait until the last minute's pretty special. I hope you like veal. So he's even through the course of the movie, he is now savvier than Oliver.
What's interesting is it's Norman who's the one who basically fixes it, because Oliver kind of questions her about it at the hospital. He's still backhanding, like, I don't know. He's not quite saying it.
Norman totally is the one who fixes it.
Yeah.
And Norman's like, hey, why didn't you go on the date with Oliver? And finally it all comes together because of Norman.
My mind? I didn't get anything for Valentine's Day.
And so then they put the pieces together that it was in the box, and the box is in the dumpster. And oh my gosh, the little doll hands.
Wake up in the morning and you never know how your day's going to turn out.
That moment kills me.
I love that gif.
Oh, it's so precious.
Oh, Jeff, we love you. Jeff, we love you so much.
It's great.
I also love how Shane yells Norman.
Norman!
Yes!
Which becomes a habit. She does that quite frequently after this movie. She does it in several of the following movies. She does that quite a bit, actually.
Yes. But anyway, Shane gets the Valentine. She reads Oliver's endearing Valentine. And so Shane follows him, or not, well, doesn't follow him, but she goes to church because he's in the choir. He's doing practice. And she sees Dale and Oliver talking. And she almost chickens out. She does chicken out. She tries to run away. And Oliver sees her. And he introduces her to Dale. She's a soprano, because that's apparently what Shane needs to know about Dale, is that Dale is a soprano.
Awkward conversation.
Oh man.
And Dale, okay, can I just give bonus points to Dale, because she was completely going back and forth, and she's the one that made it not awkward. She was doing the back and forth. She is the MVP of that conversation right there, because, oh, it's so nice to meet you. I don't think I've ever met anybody from Oliver's work. Well, sorry, I gotta go. I mean, she kept it moving. She kept it moving. There were no awkward pauses, and she was very kind, very gracious, not the least bit judgmental or anything like that. Totally open, totally welcoming. So yeah, MVP of that conversation, Dale.
Dale Travers.
Dale Travers. Here's your trophy.
Yes. Yes. And so we get a very brief glimpse of their dinner, because as Shane asks, am I too late? No, she's not too late. They get to have their dinner at Montaldo's, And we see them have some good conversation, some dancing, and we learn the fun tidbit, that Dale is the police officer that Oliver was crushing on 15 years ago. Man, she ages well for 15 years. She looks so young.
Really dang well.
How young was she, Oliver?
Oh, boy.
Oh, Dale and Oliver and this crush and then Holly and now Shane. 15 years? Okay, let's back it up.
Okay.
Okay, we back it up. Holly and Oliver were a thing, like, let's say ballpark 3 years ago, because they had met a year, or Shane and Oliver met a year prior.
Maybe four at this point.
Marriage, maybe 4. Yeah, we'll say 3 to 4 years. So 4, 15. What happened in those 9 years?
Why did he not marry Dale?
I mean, I know later we find out that they say the timing wasn't right, blah, blah, blah. But, like, and I'm not saying, okay, listen, Postables.
No. We're not saying this.
Dale with Oliver. I'm just a little confused as to how two people can be, like, how they
crushing on each other for 15 years.
Like, well, and then, like, Holly comes in and he just marries her, like, you know, hey, let's get married. Okay. Like, we know that he's human.
That is true.
That's a very good point. Oh, and we can't forget, they're at the table and they both apologize to each other. And what does he say?
Tells a Shane.
I'm sorry too. Picks up the glass. Shane.
Mop, mop, mop.
It means more because it's Oliver.
It does.
It means a lot more with the context, Miss Mop.
Getting a little sassy pants over there.
You should have seen me in Impossible Dream.
On that note, let's segue into trivia.
Hey!
Let's do it.
And y'all talked about 2 things I had on here. So now I only have 5 questions. So good thing I had extra.
Now she only has 5.
There was a lot in here, and I had to think of what I was going to use because Cammie has a habit of writing things down that I use for trivia. So I chose the things that hopefully Cammie did not write down.
I don't know. I basically wrote down the whole movie.
All right. Y'all ready for this? Question number 1. What is the name of the neighborhood that Shane lives in?
Cherry
Creek.
Cherry Creek. That was.
I think
Cammie
that's
edged you out, but it was close to a tie. Question 2. How many stamps are affixed directly to the Valentine's Day panda?
Oh my word.
18.
I did not write this one down.
I finally stumped you.
You got me. 15.
Nope, you're both too high. It was 12, not counting the 2 that were on the envelope also attached to there.
Oh.
Okay. Wow.
That's a good one.
I should have seen that. That was a good one. Yeah.
I had to pause it at just the right time because at one point you only see it close up and half the stamps are cut off. So I had to pause it when Oliver moves it out of the seat and he puts it on his desk.
Okay.
And I literally had to go up to my TV.
That would have been something to see.
All right, next question. What is the name of the barista who keeps extra use for Oliver?
Angie!
At the Mailbox Grill. Yes, Angie is correct.
Angie the barista. Yes.
Next question. What is the name of the clown that from the
gosh,
truck that runs?
I was going to write this down and I didn't. Oh.
Think of clown names.
Pickles.
No, I know it wasn't that. Was it Herbie?
Wiggles?
No.
Nope. It was Corky.
Corky!
Yeah, Corky the clown.
Yes.
All right. I've stumped y'all on 2 of them now.
Congratulations.
Last question. Who did Shane receive a homemade Valentine from in 2nd grade?
Oh, Joe Cook.
Joe Cook!
Yes, Joe Cook.
On the playground.
And then got a punch in the shoulder.
Punch.
Because that obviously goes with a Valentine.
Of course it does.
For a
Especially in the second grade.
For a second grade boy, yes, it does.
All right. Well, you guys did pretty good on that. 3 out of 5. All right. Well, that is all we have from today. Postables, we hope you enjoyed this very engaging and stimulating conversation that we brought to you about From the Heart. And we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Deliver Me a Podcast. To stay up to date on all our episodes, be sure to follow us on Twitter at DeliverMeAPod and on Instagram at DeliverMeAPodcast. We also have a merch store where you can buy tons of postable things for you and your friends. We'll see you next week.